What's happening, everybody? It's your girl, Tezlyn Figaro, the chief political correspondent for Revolt News. Thank you for being here. We are live in our Atlanta studios for a historic night. We have the Harris-Trump debate, something that we've all been waiting on. First time ever. And we are streaming it right here live on YouTube for you. So I want to make sure that you do not leave the chat. We are going to stream the debate live so you won't miss anything. But most importantly, even during our commercial breaks, I want you to come back, hear what our special guests have to say. We have a live, beautiful audience full of black, beautiful faces from every side, Democrat, Republican, independent, activists, organizers. We welcome everybody. Get in the chat box tonight. I want you to invite about 5 people. That includes the trolls. I'm putting you to work tonight. We need the bots, the trolls, the real folks. Let's get it in. Let me give first a thank you to Revolt News, Black-owned Revolt News, for making this possible. Can we give a quick round of applause? Right here in the Black Mecca, Atlanta. Very, very important. No other network is doing this to be able to have black independents, Republicans, Democrats, activists in one room having a discussion on what is important to us. This is The Culture Speaks. I'm going to go quickly around the room to give our guests an opportunity to give their name and their affiliation so we can see what we're going to get into tonight. And we might, if we have enough time, we're going to talk about should Kendrick or Lil Wayne, should he be in the debate? Should he be in the, should we debate about that? But before we get into who should do the Super Bowl, let's deal with some politics.
Azad Ahmadi, Georgia Black Republican Council. I'm one of the committee leaders there, one of the on the leadership team there. Former United States Army officer, veteran, multiple combat deployments, business leader, small business owner, corporate America junior executive, etc.
Okay, you heard that. Well, one quick thing. One thing that you're looking for tonight that you want to hear in the debate?
Yeah. So I'd like to see how Harris tackles the issue of standing on the record that Biden and herself have created over the last 3 to 4 years.
So you want her to stand on business?
I want to stand on business and say, hey, look, these are the outcomes of the policies that we pushed. I'd like her to stand on it, like her to defend it, like to see her defend it. Mm-hmm.
Now, should Kendrick or Lil Wayne?
Lil Wayne. I'm rolling with Wayne.
Let's go with Wayne all day.
I'm going with Wayne easy.
Well, hey, y'all. I am Michaela Montgomery. I am the founder of Conserve the Culture, and I am a coalitions director for the Trump campaign. So that should tell you all you need to know. I'm also Amaya's mom. Hey, I don't got all the titles like my friend over here, but yeah, that's me. Y'all have seen me. Some of y'all know me. But yeah, I'm just here to talk to y'all. So how y'all doing?
One thing you want to see? No, absolutely. One thing you want to see tonight from the debate?
Tonight, I would like to see Kamala Harris go more in depth into these issues that she decided to drop on her website last night. I think that what I was able to read was pretty general. I think that these were pretty, nice promises in theory, but I would like to see how she plans to actually put them into action.
Okay. So some implementation. Mm-hmm. Kendrick or Lil Wayne?
Definitely Lil Wayne.
And so this is going to be interesting. So why Lil Wayne? I'm just curious.
Oh, well, I grew up on the Carters, so okay. I don't really know.
So you think New Orleans, they owe it to New Orleans?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. All right, Lil Wayne in the building. Okay.
How you doing? My name's Elway Amaker, member of Emerging 100 Black Men of Atlanta. I'm a Democrat. What I want to see tonight from Kamala Harris, I want to see her be poised, educated. This is going to be a job interview for the country. So I want her to speak about the issues, avoid the personal attacks, because we know that's going to come, right? That's going to be a major thing he's going to do. A lot of fallacies going to be thrown her way, but at the same time, she can navigate that. I think she'll be all right.
Lil Wayne or Kendrick?
Now, I'm going to take the emotion about it a bit. I want to say Lil Wayne so bad, but at the same time, I understand. I have seen Lil Wayne at the Drake concert. Yeah. The time has, kind of hit him a little bit. Right?
So Joe Biden, so you basically saying he the Joe Biden?
Nah, listen, you said that, not me. You said that, not me, but right now, Kendrick has the momentum. He has the juice, he has the charm.
Has the momentum.
He's doing what's happening right now, and I think that's going to be a very interesting Super Bowl for that. He might even bring out Lil Wayne. They got Mona Lisa together. There might be something we
Mona Lisa's a cold track, by the way.
Listen,
yeah.
Get me started.
Yeah, cold whack.
My name is Geraldine Lake. If you follow me on social media, you know me as Indescribable. I'm actually a lot less professional than everybody else up here. I'm a full-time content creator. I don't consider myself a political activist, but some of my content is political in nature. And I'm independent, but I am here obviously in support of Kamala Harris. And what I'm looking forward to most tonight is seeing her do what Black women always do. Unfortunately, we always have to justify and come in and argue our side and prove why we deserve what we deserve. But she's overqualified, and as the gentleman to my left stated, we're going to see her be educated, we're going to see her be poised, and we're going to see her win. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Quickly.
I'm from Memphis. Can we put Glorilla in it?
I know that's right. 40-inch weave, 613.
Listen.
I'm your auntie Glorilla. A quick question before we get into the first topic. Hey, I love me some Glorilla now. First quick topic. I noticed everybody's talking about what they want to see from VP Harris, but nobody said, like, so Trump don't have to explain nothing to nobody?
The policies he's laid out are non-existent, right? I mean, unless they know what they are, non-existent. Yeah. He has 20 outlined from the GOP. Immigration, they're going to talk about that. Obviously, they're going to talk about men and women's sports. That's going to be what they're talking about. That's something that the country cares about as a whole. We care about the price of food, housing, medical expenses, the things that actually impact our day-to-day.
Okay,
right?
so you're basically saying you don't want to hear nothing he got to say.
I mean, if he got something to say, let him say it. But I doubt it's going to happen. I promise you.
But I agree that we want to hear about the economy, the price of food, the price of groceries, you know, cost of rent and everything like that. But we've lived through a Trump presidency. We have no idea what a Harris presidency is like. In which case, I want
to chime in.
She has to come in and yes, she has to explain herself. She has to let us know what she plans to do. We know what Trump plans to do. So, and you know me, I mean, I work for him, so I know what he plans to do.
I don't want to cut this
Go ahead,
off. I want to get back to your original, the root of your question. Ain't nobody talking about where Trump is on the issues, because Trump been talking about the issues since the last presidency, and he's been consistent in that regard. Harris has been in no man's land until today, when she dropped Project 2030 or whatever, the new Green Deal or whatever it is on the website. I haven't had a chance to take a look at it, but ultimately, she's nowhere to be found. And I mean, that's a sentiment that's running through the Black community today. Now, there may be people in the room who feel otherwise, but I'm fortunate enough to be in the community, and those are things that I hear.
Well, I thought that was interesting and nobody brought that up, so thank you for answering that question. I want to get straight to it because this is our pre-show, and then we're going to watch the actual debate. We'll be talking during the discussion, the commercial break, and then we'll have a post show just so you guys make sure you stay right there. But let's talk about the gender gap. Black voters in this 2024 election, according to Pew Research Center, there are more Black men in favor of President Trump than Black women. There are more Black women in favor of Vice President Harris than Black men. So we're going to get into it. Let's take a look.
In a million years, you would never get me to vote for Kamala Harris. You can put a gun to my head.
They are actively out here villainizing Black men for not wanting to vote for Kamala Harris. And I said it before, and I will say it again. They think they own us.
The women that are telling Black men that they have to vote for Kamala Harris, it is going to remind Black men of every bitter baby mama.
I don't think Kamala should be in the position as Biden. I think he needs to find someone else.
They offered me $10K for an interview with Kamala Harris. I don't want your money.
I think she if she anything, she Black and Indian, but she's not really from that life. You know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't grow up the Black life, you know what I'm saying?
The thing that hurts Kamala the most is that she has been part of this administration since day one, and the American people are just fed up with it.
What's the disconnect with Black men?
It's easy, man. This is really, really easy. Black men are working through the world logically. At the end of the day, they associate the Democrat Party today. Today's masculine, heterosexual Black male, make a long story short, associates the Democrat Party with having separated them from their families over the course of the last 60 years. And that's a very sensitive topic to discuss, but an uncomfortable truth that we need to deal with. At the end of the day, for the first time, Black males have an opportunity to vote against a prosecutor. I believe the young lady was a prosecutor, right? They have the people who have really been harmed the most have an opportunity to sort of cast a vote in a different way, and they're standing on that. And that's again, I get the privilege of being in the community, and that's a recurring message that I hear.
Other side of it.
I believe that
one of the guests, come to the mic if you have something to say. After you get to him, no, I want to hear from Black men. So come to, somebody can come to the mic. If somebody wants to come to the mic next, let's get into it.
I believe us as Black men are suffering from misinformation. That's been my main platform on my socials. What I've been speaking about is the misinformation plaguing the Black community. Number one, look at exactly who you showed on that screen. These people do not know what the issues or know what even they want from the presidential nominees or anything like that. When it comes to the stimulus check, you know, the conversation surrounding that people feel like that Trump gave them the stimulus check. I always wondered why he wanted his name on it so bad. I didn't know that the United States Department of Treasury's name is on every single stimulus check that has happened. Obama gave us one, Bush gave us one. We've always had these. Even Biden gave us one. But no one talks about that because they were not so vain to do that. But Trump had the ideology that, hey, if I put my name on it, they'll associate with it and they'll thank me for it. And I didn't think that was going to work, but clearly, based on what we've heard from a lot of these people, that's what's happening.
Can we keep it real? Can I ask you a real question?
Sure.
Are y'all feeling a way that she's with a white man? Are we gonna be honest?
No.
I just want to know.
I didn't have a chance.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. So you know you're not. But is that an issue? Like I want to really.
That's a great question.
Like,
you know what?
But
here's what it boils down to.
So hold on. Let me just put this out here. Wait a minute. I'm feeling some resentment in the building. I just want to put the conversation out there, and we're gonna do more of these shows because I want to bring it back and have a conversation on relationship and all of that. But I just want to put it out. Black women, we feel away. I'm just gonna keep it real. Black women gonna keep it real. We feel away when we see like if Obama had a white wife, we would feel away. Raise the hand, women. Well, we feel just like a little bit of a way. We're gonna be honest about it. Let's be real about it. What sister's gonna be real about it? I'll be real about it. They don't want to tell y'all. They would feel away. So I just want to know. So we're looking at all of the black congressmen with their white wives, but I want to just keep it all the way a buck. I just want to keep, and all Republicans, by the way. I just want to keep it all just a buck. I mean, I just want to say that is because I talk to black men all the time. You know, we went to Chicago to barbershops. I engage a lot with black men, and I just want to, since we're here with all black folks, let's just be honest. There's some men. If Denzel Washington had a white one, we feel away. Not so much if somebody, you know. So I just want to be honest about it. Is that a part of it? Is it because I've heard black men say it. I've seen black men say it. If she has that white husband, I got a problem with that because who she sleeps with, like Dr. Umar Johnson have said and many others said, makes a difference in how they feel in her support for black men. Are we going to be honest about it or are we going to play about it?
That's a very true statement.
It's a true statement.
It's a very true statement. And, I mean, she's not going to do too much that's going to make Thanksgiving dinner uncomfortable. She doesn't go by her married name because she doesn't want y'all to remember that she's married to a white man. She's never birthed any black children. So while she's acting like she's about to be the mother of America, you've never had children yourself. And then you go around, you know, parading to
black. Do you have children?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have children. So you got a problem with women that don't have children?
I don't have a problem with women who don't have children. I have a problem with people making it seem like children are going to be, are the end of everything. I don't like people discouraging women from having children.
Where does she do? I'm just curious. When does she discourage?
Well, whenever she comes to the AUC, the main topic of discussion is abortion.
Okay.
As if, and I mean, unfortunately, she fits the narrative. Unfortunately, reproductive rights in terms of abortion. They don't talk about allocating any money to fibroid research or endometriosis research or PCOS research.
I agree with it.
All things that disproportionately affect black women and their infertility.
Wait a minute. Let's just now.
That's reproductive health.
I will.
And she's a black woman.
Let's be clear. Reproductive health. Well, let's hold on. Wait a minute. I agree with you on that because they do need to talk more about. We were talking about it in the dressing room about fibroids and IUD because I do want to say that white women are the ones pushing the narrative with abortion. Let's get that clear. Let's stop acting like this is a black woman issue. No, let's get this clear.
Every election, it's black women will die unless abortion is accessible.
But I'm talking about the reality. The reality is when you look at the women who are advocating for abortion, because I'm a mother too. So you talking to a fellow mama. So we're gonna talk about this and we're gonna stop putting this stigma on black women. I'm not talking about Harris. I'm talking about me and you, mother to mother. It's really important. I want to lay this out and then we'll get to you, brother. But let's stop putting this black women are talking about abortion because when you look at these abortion, let me finish. When you look at these abortion rallies, it's white women out there doing it. You know why? Because they got the Ring Before Spring program. So it's not that, did I say it? They got the Ring Before Spring program. In case y'all don't know what that is, these white women are the ones that flipped from Trump to Biden, went from Obama to Trump and back to Biden, and they'll be the ones deciding this election versus Roe versus Wade. Because black women, just let me hear you out, because y'all know y'all love talking about single black women, that's your favorite term. Black women have learned that I'm gonna be all right, me and my son, with or without you. So black women have been conditioned, unfortunately, because of the black family issues, been conditioned to say, I'm gonna have my baby anyway. I'm gonna be all right anyway. It's the white woman that's sitting up talking about, let me get the abortion, because they train their young girls that if you have a baby, a ready-made baby, you are now damaged. So this is what we know based on facts. So I just want to be clear. I understand the abortion issue, and I tell Democrats all the time.
But I want to be clear. I wasn't saying that.
I know, but I just want to be clear because I don't want that stigma out there just running with the trolls in the comments. I want to be clear that black women are not the ones. That's why you don't see us in the pussycat hats and all of that talking about abortion.
Are the ones they're promoting this too.
Yeah, but
you're
no,
going to die
and that's where I'm disagreeing with you because the thousands of women that are out protesting for abortion are white women.
And
That's the
they're
bottom line.
Black women that we need
right, but
abortions.
it's white women, though. But we ain't out there, though, sis. So let's be
But
clear.
they're telling us that.
But who gives a damn what they telling? We want to be clear.
So how did this become to the attention of Kamala Harris?
Let's not move the
It's the white
goalposts.
women.
The bottom line is black women are not advocating for abortion, but I agree. And
I don't like them making us- Exactly.
Baby, listen, black women been doing what we want to do. White women don't tell us what to do. We tell white women what to do.
Okay.
So let's be clear. But I don't know what kind of black women you are, but we the type black I want to be clear.
Tell you, but
it's important that we be clear about that.
White women hold positions of power that we don't.
Well, maybe they control you. They don't control the sisters.
I'm
but
telling
listen,
you, though, that
but
they
I'm telling
exist.
you that I
Just
agree.
like the white men
Are you hearing what
exist.
I'm telling you, or you ain't listening?
I'm listening.
I
to you.
agree that Democrats.
I just feel like you're trying to make my point something that
I'm not trying to make it. I just want you to listen. Democrats do a terrible job in talking about reproductive health as far as fibroids. We were literally in the dressing room talking about fibroids, and I said they really need to be talking about fibroids. They really need to be talking. I was in real time on the phone with my daughter and her doctor while I was getting my makeup done. So I am agreeing with you that they do not talk about the reproductive health. They do not talk about IVF. They do not talk about birth control helping us with our very painful menstruation. I am telling you that Democrats fail in that area. Where I am gently correcting you is that white women are talking about abortion, not the sisters.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
As a white woman, because I don't advocate for abortion, but have you noticed like all the men don't want Camilla, a woman, running the country, but when they do jury selection, or in the clips you showed, when they do jury selection, they do a lot of research on like different races and genders and how they identify, and they say like white women actually identify as being a woman first before being Caucasian.
What are you talking about?
And black women identify with their race first. And don't you think like there's something about being inclusive and like women supporting women in general?
Ma'am, white women, y'all in the women's suffrage movement, when black men had the opportunity to vote, it was y'all that said, before black men get a chance to vote, we're gonna vote. So being inclusive with white women, since you're a conservative, let me break it down to you. White feminism that you know y'all Republicans say y'all against, it was white feminism that divided us, that said get on the white women's side, because the white women's side pushed white male supremacy.
Well, I was born in 1983, so I wasn't a part of that.
Well, I'm giving you the information. It was white women, just a little history. It was white women that divided up saying women first, because what women first meant in white women's world meant white men first, not black men. And we know that according to the history of the women's suffrage movement.
I just judge people individually.
Oh yeah, well we're not talking about you, we're talking about systems. So unfortunately you're not the system, and what I'm saying, the system, when you say we should identify as a woman first, that actually divides the black family.
I didn't say we should. I was just saying like from the one white person in the room.
I know that you wanted to say that shouldn't we identify with the importance of identifying as a woman first and not color. And I'm letting you know why black women identify with color first. Because when we identified with you as white women first, you left us in the back and our men too. I'm just answering the question. Yeah, well, your ancestors. Your people. Yeah, it's okay. I answered your question. Okay. Even like now, you know. But anyway, let's move on to the next.
So are we coming back to abortion, or because I saw the call sheet? Are we coming back to it, or if we're coming back to it, we can.
But did I answer the question?
Yes. I think so.
Relative to abortion, right? You know, our community has aborted 25 million children.
And how many white folks?
What white folks do don't set the standard in the black community.
I just want to make sure we get the facts.
We need to measure ourselves on our own performance.
No problem. I just wanted to know the white folks. That's all.
Fair enough. We've aborted 25 million children, and it's my opinion that the world is better with those children in it than not. Okay, Abortion is in many ways a very difficult topic for a lot of people to deal with. But what we're really not talking about is the root issue, which is premarital sex. Premarital sex is the most significant issue.
You against premarital sex?
So I am actually. As of today.
Go ahead.
As of today. So as of today, yeah. So dig, right? So no, wait, because we got a whole bunch of people in the crowd who gonna claim that they from the community. And I ain't perfect. So hold on.
You keep talking about you're from the community. We all from the community.
Stop. Let me, for the cameras.
Are you married?
For the cameras in the view, I can lay my resume. I can lay my family resume on the tape.
Are you married?
I'm running for you.
No, just a yes or no. Before you move forward, you want to set the foundation.
I'm a grown heterosexual black male.
Are you married?
Hold on, no, stop. who has benefited.
He won't answer
for the cameras.
Somebody
For the cameras. No, I'm going to give you more than you asked for.
No, but I just want
I'm
this
gonna
one
give you more than you asked for.
No, but I don't want one to ask for. I just want to know, yes
I'm a
or
black
no?
male who benefited from the abortion
I didn't
program.
ask you that. I asked you one. You did this last time.
At 18 years old, I benefited with another
in the
sister
comment,
from abortion.
sir,
But that don't
yes
mean
or
that
no?
I don't know that it's wrong.
Right.
See, one of the issues we have in our community.
Relax, soldier, relax.
The issue that
Remember
we have
on
in
the
our
airport.
community.
Hold on, tone it down. Relax.
Fair enough.
Come on, you foaming at the mouth. Relax, baby. It's cool. Relax. You foaming. Relax. But I know I need to know this because they want to know. They're asking.
So listen.
No.
I'm a divorcee with a fiance.
No.
I'm a divorcee with a fiance and children. You see what I'm saying?
Let's stop, because you the one threw it out there. So I just want to know, yes or no, before we move forward. Are you married, yes or no?
I'm engaged.
So
I got a beautiful black female. I've been married,
no,
right? And I've also leveraged the abortion
system. I just asked you a
system.
simple question.
It has
Were you
no
married,
bearing on
yes
the
or no?
point.
So bottom line, she ain't getting none tonight.
It has no bearing on the point.
I just want to make sure.
It has
The
no
people
bearing.
want to know.
You're distracted
Ma'am,
from the
you
issue.
ain't getting none tonight because he
It's
said as
distracting
of
from the
tonight.
issue.
No, we are going to
You
talk
are
about
diverting from the real issue
90
here.
seconds
The
before
real
the
issue
debate.
is people don't want to be accountable to the fact
We accountable, but man, you ain't getting none tonight. That's damn shame because he looked a nice looking man. And he said you ain't.
Is being used.
We got all that, but I know you ain't getting none tonight, man. Make sure y'all stay tapped in. We got to talk about the real issue. We just want to know was you married, and he said he ain't getting none. 90 seconds. We gonna get back.
She ain't gonna let you
I ain't gonna let you do.
Because the uncomfortable truth. The news media don't want you to hear the uncomfortable truth.
Raise your hand. We just want to know.
Don't. That's it. I called it like it is. I've called it like it is.
Baby, we gonna talk about abortion. Relax. But I told you this last time.
If we was gonna go back, you wanted me to jump in, so I ran in.
You got to lay out the premise of the argument.
So I'm trying to get there.
Since you said you don't believe in no, because I needed to know that before we got to the debate. We need to know because we need to know if you was gonna get something. Hey man. We move it. This is one of my best friends, y'all. As of tonight, we get to
listen.
40 seconds until the debate. Watch the debate. We're streaming it live. You see, we're gonna get it popping. Hey, make sure you right here, and we're gonna talk about abortion and how he's not getting none tonight.
Let's do it.
Y'all make sure y'all.
Let's do it.
Y'all make sure y'all tap in.
Let's do it.
Invite 5, comment, and invite 5 again. We're gonna see you during the commercial break. Yes.
The debate.
You the best.
So our post-game show, as soon as it's over, we are going to toss it right now to David Muir and Linsey Davis.
Tonight, the high-stakes showdown here in Philadelphia between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Their first face-to-face meeting in this presidential election, their first face-to-face meeting ever.
A historic race for president upended just weeks ago. President Biden withdrawing after his last debate. Donald Trump now up against a new opponent.
The candidates separated by the smallest of margins, essentially tied in the polls nationally and in the key battlegrounds, including right here in Pennsylvania, all still very much in play. The ABC News presidential debate starts right now.
This is an ABC News special. The most consequential moment of this campaign. Kamala Harris.
Together, we will chart a new way forward.
Donald Trump.
We will soon be a great nation again.
Face to face. Historic. The ABC News presidential debate. Here now, David Muir and Linsey Davis.
Good evening, I'm David Muir, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Linsey Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year, because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having, on the short end of the stick, in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. "Thank you, President Xi," exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Linsey?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, "I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks." But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's an execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban, because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter, because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to, because, again, 2 things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea, and how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think you're speaking for me, but I really didn't. If he loves a certain view, but I think you're speaking for me, but I really didn't. She'd never be able to get it. Just like we don't have to discuss it, because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. For years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
You could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people were just killed, viciously and violently killed, and I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president, in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher. Because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. United States, and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich. Coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear, where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York, every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice President
to stop
Harris.
him.
Thank you. Linsey?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot
that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Linsey?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking, because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your response?
First of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies, like She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of it. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get to.
environment, as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsey, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just ask
David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask you.
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I said that sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it.
And said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread
standing.
fraud.
That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I
up.
think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel. Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror, and they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it. that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
All right, guys. All right. All right, guys. Tezlyn Figaro here, chief political correspondent for Revolt. Black News. I'm so excited. As you can see, we have a room full of folks, black Democrats, black Republicans, black independents, activists, organizers, you name it. We got them in the building. Want to do a quick, just to reset things, quick name, affiliation, so that for our listeners that just tapped in.
Okay, well, hey, y'all. I'm Michaela Montgomery, and I do work for the Trump campaign, so I guess you could say I'm a Republican.
I guess so.
Devin Barrington Ward. I'm a Democratic Socialist and a candidate for Atlanta City Council.
And
I'm Young Jock from Young Jock in the Streets Morning Takeover.
It's going down.
Hey.
Me be a trap. I had to say that. But guys, thank you so much for being here. As you can see, it got turned up. We even had some conversations, did we not, while we were watching. Make sure you tag 5 friends and then tag 5 again. Let's go straight to our brother was here talking about abortion. Come on in, brother, because I was trying to give you your opportunity to talk about abortion.
Let's get into it. I had to use the little boys' room.
No problem. Well, there was a conversation about abortion, and I really do. I want to be clear. I want Revolt to bring you back to have that longer conversation about the root of it, the problem. We unfortunately just don't have a lot of time to unpack it. But I do want you to state your position that we talked about before. And also, we noticed, if we want to be fair about it, neither candidate really kind of answered the question on late-term abortion, when it should not be. So I do appreciate your position on the root of it, but just kind of give me your position on why is it that Trump has flipped on his position as far as abortion is concerned?
I don't know that Trump has. I think Trump's been relatively consistent in the message. The reality in this situation is that if Democrats wanted to do something about abortion, they could. He was absolutely right. When Roe v. Wade was repealed, I'm going to use the word repealed, or overturned, Democrats at that time wanted it. Okay? The matter of abortion is only coming up every 4 years as a way of separating black Americans from another political party. If they wanted to do something about it over the course of the last 3-4 years, they could have, and they haven't. The entire debate tonight was Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, making an argument about what Trump had done, and she made absolutely no argument that demonstrates what she or her platform had done.
Would you agree? Disagree?
I would not agree with that. First, she did address the question, which was she would go back to where we were prior to Roe v. versus Wade being overturned, which means that those legal protections would be in place so that people wouldn't be having late-term abortions. I think the other thing that is missing from this conversation, we're in a state like Georgia where black women die when they go into childbirth. That's the conversation around reproductive health that we need to be having as black folks. Because when I go into the hospital and I see people who are having babies, it's black and brown folks. So this really isn't about us, right? You spoke about that earlier, about how this is about white women and their desire to not have children. But the black community, we having kids. Our population numbers are going up. Our schools are full. And so this idea that they want to make abortion about us on both sides of the aisle, because for me, I'm a progressive. So I will agree with you to some extent. The Democrats could have did things to codify Roe v. versus Wade into law. And that was a missed opportunity. But in addition to that, we should be investing money into improving the maternal health outcomes for black women in this state and across the country.
And I would like to piggyback off that, because that was the point that I was trying to make earlier, is that when they come into these communities and the topic of women's reproductive health comes up, the only thing that they suggest to us is abortion. And that I wish that when people like Kamala Harris or anybody else comes and says that we need to protect our reproductive rights, that the conversation is about more than just abortion, because black women deserve more than to just be told that to not have
And
kids.
I was agreeing with you as well. I agree that they do come in. In fact, we were me and my producer just last week at the DNC convention, and I sat there saying you need to talk more than just about abortion. I just wanted to pull up to make the point, like our brother said here, we're having our babies. So who give a damn about what it's important what they're talking about, but white women don't tell us what to do. So I just want to be clear that black women have our babies, because that's another talking point y'all always talk about, the single black woman. So the single black woman with the baby. So the welfare queen. Now, so which one are the welfare queens, or we're not the welfare queens? So I just want to make the point
I don't know,
that
nobody ever called me that.
Yeah,
But
well, they
to
do.
say
They
that
do.
White women don't
They're
control-
pushing the issue.
White women hold high positions at these record companies, correct? You would know something about that, right? In which case, those are the people who pay these artists like Lotto, like Glorilla, who are pushing abortion to our young black women.
Right.
You hear, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more, because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left, I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
They threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interests for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also, as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I wanted to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before,
if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something, I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking...
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Linsey?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said, going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
Thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump, we have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
She has a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's
you,
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Linsey,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump-
no, the
President
former
Trump-
president has
No,
said
I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I just need
gonna
to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now
times.
your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better.
Correct.
Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not-too-distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Linsey. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said, at the time because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we, over the last 4 years, have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass
President
prologue
Harris, thank
in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot
She made a mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
All right, everybody. Last commercial break. I wish we had the behind the scenes so everybody can see what our conversation. This is a great conversation. No other network, they laughing. No other network has done it like this. We're going to get into immigration in our post show, so make sure you stick around because we are going to talk about everything. But I want to go to the sister at the mic. She's been waiting.
Everyone, I'm Kara, one of Kayla's best friends, also her old debate partner from Clark Atlanta University. But I'm on the opposite side, yes, CAU, but I'm on the opposite side of the political spectrum than Kayla. So I have two things that I want to say. The first being a question that I want you to ponder but not necessarily answer. Donald Trump was found criminally liable for sexual assault against E. Jean Carroll, who actually sued him for sexual assault within the last few years. Additionally, his ex-wife, Ivana Trump, actually wrote about him sexually assaulting her and raping her in her book. And Donald Trump, out of his own mouth, has said that he would grab a woman by the pussy and that they actually encourage him to do that. So why would we want Donald Trump to have control over any woman's body? That's question number one. Number two, in the last 4 years, prior to these last 4 years when Donald Trump was in office from 2016.
This is just a commercial break, so I need to let him at least answer. And then we'll get, quick answer. Why are you cool with him grabbing him by the pussy?
You want to go ahead?
I'm gonna hand it to you.
Well, no, I'm gonna hand it to you because you don't believe in premarital sex, so it's going right to you.
Nobody.
Oh, they don't want to touch that part. Okay, speak on it.
Indefensible.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that we have a criminal running for president of the United States. And none of your black asses, if you had that many charges, would be able to run for anything. You wouldn't even be able to get a job at McDonald's. So, let's just stop the games, let's stop the BS. Donald Trump is a criminal. He has been found criminally liable in several courts. He has a case that's still pending in the state of Georgia. I've run for office before, and one of the first things they tell you is you cannot call election officials and ask them for more votes than the other guy. It's really against the law. He said, I need 11,574 more votes than the other guy. Come on, because black folks have been what? Black folks have been criminalized on less evidence. So why are we even entertaining this?
Well, I do want to
hear. No, it's really insulting our intelligence.
Yeah, it really is. But I want to hear the Republican sisters comment about grabbing about a pee.
Well, first of all, context is important. And so when he's talking about, I'm just saying, because if we're being honest, if we're being real, it's a lot of black women in this room, right? And a lot of black women love rich men, right? So I hate to be the one to say it. I hate to be the one to say it. But in him saying, hey, you know, when you're rich, you can do whatever. You can just grab him by the pussy. Isn't that what the quote was? That is exactly what the quote was. Now, I'm sorry, but Jock, if you wanted to grab anybody in here by the pussy, none of these girls would tell you no. You don't have to. Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Now everybody mad. Now everybody mad. Hold on. So you are going to act like, as a celebrity. Wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute, because now you're disrespecting me. Y'all can't grab me by no pussy. Wait a minute, let's get this. You and I have already made it clear that you and I don't succumb. No, but you said any black woman in here. Hold up. It's time for pause for the call. Let me clarify. Hold on, let's let Jock answer quickly. Hold on, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute, girl. Hold on, wait a minute. No, let's let Jock. No. Let me not say anybody in here. Let me not say anybody in here before everybody lines up and gets mad. Stand on business. You said stand on business. Let's let all you what too bad you better watch what you say then. Watch your mouth. Let's let no, she said she gonna learn stand on business. Stand on business, sis. Now she said any woman in here, so let young Jock. Hold on, because young Jock's wife is watching. So we want to hear what young Jock got to say. Because you disrespected the institution of marriage. Y'all remember how y'all like marriage? This is a married man. Girl, shut up, girl. And let's go on. Because you know. Sis, and ask you if you have sex. Sis, let the man answer. Well, hold on, wait a minute.
Okay.
You can't just run. You're going to have to learn. Today, sis, you're going to learn to stand on business. Wait. Are you going to moderate or are you a panelist?
Both of them. I'm going to be all three of them. I'm going to be all three of them. I'm going to moderate, debate, panel, hold this shit down all the way around. No, sis. If the moderator wants to engage in debate, then we're not going to have a conversation. Let Jock respond. You can't just blurt something out. You can't just...
And Linsey Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together. That is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Linsey Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
Thank you. And we are here live on ABC with our post-debate comments. I'm Martha Raddatz. It was a lively debate from the economy to abortion to Afghanistan. They
So hello, we are back.
Wow.
No other network does it like this.
That was quite a
no
debate.
other network does it like this.
And I'm
Good
Jonathan Call
conversation.
here with, of
We're
course,
gonna let
Mary Bruce and Rachel
Young
Scott,
Jock here
our reporters
speak on behalf
across
of
the news division,
based on what the
have been
sister said.
updating our
The
live
comments about
blog,
grabbing them by the
looking
feet.
at some of the allegations made back and forth, doing fact checks. You can find all of that on abcnews.com. But I would like to replay the moment at the
feels
very
like he's
start
eligible
of this
to do
debate,
things like that,
because
and not,
it was quite a moment.
Not being in recourse.
The
No,
handshake.
I understood what she was saying, but at the end of the day,
And if you
I didn't want to be put into that, right?
My apologies, Jock,
but I do
First of all, we
understand
haven't
that
seen a handshake. We haven't seen a handshake in a long time.
sometimes,
And
as
not
crazy
only
as
did
it
she
is,
initiate it,
people
she
or women
walked over
will
to
allow
him
a man of a
and
certain
sought
stature
him
or
out,
tax
put
bracket.
hands out,
Not all
and
women.
also
Not
made the
all
first
women,
approach.
and that's why I
And
definitely
I did
not
want to clarify that. I
Right.
was talking about all that.
So,
Interesting.
I'm not going to say 95%. I'm just saying the situations that happen. But at the end of the day, let's not act like it's not recourse that comes behind it. You know what I'm saying? You look up, you may be the guy that could do this and that, but you end up with
A charge.
A charge.
Right.
And as your man got a couple charges, you know what I'm saying? Trump, that is. So, and I'm not, look, I'm here because I wanted to be here right now in this room, in the city that I live in. I've never, you know, seen a moment where somebody said, hey, we're gonna go watch the debate, and everybody in my age bracket is excited.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, this the new club. I'm like, let's go. And so to come in and witness this firsthand, you know, I do notice that y'all get a little high key, a little hostile with the energy. And I wish y'all could kind of just keep it a little, you know, just, well, it's nothing wrong, but it makes it hard to communicate.
No, we'll get through it.
Yeah, we will.
This is what family do. Let me speak to this.
True indeed, true indeed.
Let me speak to this. If people can argue about who's the best rapper, if people can argue about who peed on who, if people can argue about who dated who, we can absolutely, and I want family to understand this. I want to be clear about this. We can, this is family. I literally asked Revolt, let's make sure we bring black Republicans, not just Republicans, but Trumpers, all the way on the left, all the way on the right, all the way on the left. We have got to be okay with chaos. And we let me just say this, brother. We have got to be okay with having a difference of opinion. We're gonna turn it all the way up and turn it down and turn it up, just like we hug, we chill, we cool. This is good. It is good. Look how they do in Britain. They yell, holler, scream, throw chairs. It is good for us to sort this out because organized chaos and having this conversation is actually how we solve problems. We it's just like playing dominoes and talking loud.
No, I would just like to add, now, if we could find just a more streamlined way to actually execute this moment than opposed to yelling, because I'm gonna keep it 100. I would much more rather be yelling and be passionate about these conversations that's gonna live on for years and decades for our children and the people that we leave in our legacies too, opposed to me yelling if LeBron or Kobe or Jordan is the best. I do feel like this is a more fulfilling conversation. It's more healthy, but I'm trying to get into it because it's so chaotic, but I love it.
Right.
I love it. I'm here.
But I do want to speak to the solution because what Young Jock is saying is we got to get to the solution, and I just want to put this out. I train thousands of people every year. Thousands of people every year to be organizers, to be candidates, to be operatives. This brother running for office. You have to be on the ground in order to do it. This brother's in the community. Are you not? You talk about it in the community all the time. This is in the community. Everybody in this room is an activist, an organizer at some level in the community. So we are working towards a solution just because of the time and because we're responding to, you know, in real time what they're saying. We have to deal it in pockets, just like a track. We just doing just a track and feature every now and then. But make no mistake about it, that Revolt, and hopefully we continue to have these conversations, which is why we're here. We can continue to flesh out these solutions. So it's not that we're not getting towards solution. We're just having a good old-fashioned rap battle. That's all. And ain't nothing wrong with it. And hip-hop, literally hip-hop. Somebody asked in the comments, why is Young Jock here? And I just checked somebody in the comments and said, you got every right to be here. First of all, Revolt is a hip-hop network. Let's get that straight. So if anything, we in your house. So because I want to let you know how I defended you. Why is Young Jock? Well, first of all, you a human like anybody else. So let's first get that straight. Nobody get to decide who should be here and who should not be here. Rappers, literally, you've been telling the story from the beginning of time. It's like a jungle sometime, made me wonder how I keep from going under. Rap literally tells our story.
Can I tell them something?
Yes, you can.
I'm socially activated at this point in my life. Just 2 weekends ago, I teamed up with my brother, Tory 100, Mr. Ray Daniels, P from QC, Luda, Jermaine Dupri, and we just gave out 1,000 laptops to our inner city youth on the South Side, for Southside Day at the Lake. So, and I'm not doing that for clout. I'm just saying this is my footing in the game. It's a receipt. It's a footprint. You know, and I appreciate when people ask those types of questions because it creates a friction, it creates a conflict, and that's the only way we're gonna do something. You know, they say iron sharpen iron. You got to ask those tough questions, even if it ain't a tough question. Why he there? Because I'm activated. I have a nationally syndicated morning show. I don't want to just regurgitate what I heard. It's just like I said at the DNC with my nice little suit on, speaking to Revolt. Hey, I want to be in the room. I want to smell what's happening in the room, and I want the room to smell me.
That's right.
And the only way for that to happen is I have to actively be present. Here I am.
That's right. We appreciate you being here.
Straight up.
And also, even if you wasn't activated. See, my job being the hood was to go get people who's not activated.
Talk to me.
So nobody, since we got Christian folk, if you're not a Christian, then don't worry about it. But it's about walking among the people that are not activated. So when I was in the streets yesterday in Atlanta, I'm talking to the brothers literally homeless who are under the bridge. We got to get them in the fold. Anybody can talk to their own choir, but who can go bring people to go follow them up the hill? So we want to be clear that this space is for those who are activated and non-activated, because that's Trump's beyond. Here's where I'll give Trump campaign some credit. They follow the, what do they call it, the lost man or the unspoken man? What do they call it on your side? The forgotten man.
Oh, the forgotten man.
Where they literally go and say, let me strategically peel off 1-2%. Let me go and get Iceware Vizzo in Detroit to peel off 1 or 2%. And you have people online saying, oh, why they got Iceware? He got clout in Detroit.
Yep.
So while you ignoring that rapper in Detroit and saying, oh, he don't know what he's talking about, that 1 and 2%, the Trump campaign has been very strategic, whether y'all like it or not. They've been very strategic talking to those brothers that are not getting talked to. Yep. So we want to be clear that the non-activated people are important, and we want them here too, and we're glad to have you.
3.6 million people listen to me every morning.
Yeah.
From 6 to 10 on my platform. So
yeah.
I'm happy to be here, man.
We appreciate it, brother.
First off, I want to say, Jock, I want to give you the props for those laptops, because I know it's going to make the difference for those kids that you did that to. So people who are online, please just watch who you give, who you're trying to knock, and who you give respect to, because those are resources that you didn't have to do, but you did it because you've always been a real one. And so we, as a community, we appreciate you, and you should be, if anything, one of the first people to speak, because when people aren't looking, you're still working for us. Mm-hmm. And I do want to say this, and this is, I mean, Tez, I know you said one thing, you said, hey, you know, you sitting next to a big dog, you sitting next to a big dog. But out of that whole stage right there, if Trump wins, only one of y'all going to the White House, and that's Michaela right there. And so we got to be honest on what we got to know. We have to know. What I'm saying is, hold on, out of the whole crowd, only one person, hold on, let me just.
Gotta listen to each other. Let's hear
Go ahead, brother.
And this is why the black people,
just finish.
and when it comes down to,
finish your comment, baby.
when it comes down to a divide,
focus on
when it comes down to a divide in our community, this is why, because we're talking about everybody being so politically correct instead of in 4 years, what are we going to get? You mentioned chaos. Black people have been in chaos way before this debate ever started. We're in chaos in the homeless shelters. We're in chaos when it comes to the Department of Labor. We're in chaos, the fact that Jock has to bring out laptops for the kids because there's not enough resources in our community. Right. And so when we have a sister with a different opinion than ours, it's about giving that respect. The fact that...
Hold on, wait a minute. I got to... Wait, no, you're not... No, I'm going to stop you because you're going on and on. And this sister here is the one that invited this sister. So if I did not respect this sister, she wouldn't be sitting here, and you're going to put some respect on that. We're not going to sit up here... No, you can get frustrated and look down and all of that. Relax. Well, we got to make sure we're very clear. This platform was designed to bring this sister here. So if there was no respect for this sister, she wouldn't be here. So let's make sure we're using the right context, brother. I don't mind you making the point about one sister going. This is the only sister on this stage that want to go. So let's also make that clear, because I don't work in no White House. So I want to be clear about that. Everybody ain't trying to get a job in the White House. You can continue, but let's not act like she's not respected, because she is. We just have a difference of opinion.
When people are yelling about who's a big dog.
I am a big dog.
And what I'm saying is,
I'm a big dog.
Out of this whole stage, only one person was standing on the stage with a presidential candidate.
And only one person on this stage flipped Michigan. And only one person on this stage organized over 2,000 people every year. Only one person was the racial justice director for Bernie Sanders. Only one, because remember, you don't want to do resumes, because the sister already said she don't have no resume. So you might want to back that. Yeah, you did. You said you don't have like a resume. Ain't but one sister the senior public policy advisor for Ben Crump. Let's go on to the next. Ain't but one sister signed the front of the check for 1,000 people. Oh, baby, I know you don't want to start doing the only sister. I know you don't want to start doing the only sister receipts, because ain't but one sister served in the United States Air Force. Let's go on to the next person, because I don't like the passive aggressive diss, because I run these receipts down. So let's go on, because ain't but one sister served this country on this here panel.
4 years from now, black people have to decide what they're going to get at the end of the year.
Because you're talking to a whole veteran.
And we're dealing with the disrespect right here. 4 years. What are black people going to get at the end?
Because you heard us say she don't have the resume that I got. So go on to the next sister. I'm not going to handle your passive aggressive distance. Baby, I'll run these receipts down on you. I'll run these receipts down on you. You talking to a whole veteran. So baby, ain't nobody impressed about working in no White House. I done turned it down. Ain't but one sister on here that on Fox News. Ain't but one that do 100 hits on Fox News. They don't call this sister, they call me. But how many you do a year? How many do you do a year?
I've literally done 30 in the past 2 months.
Baby, I do 100 every year.
And I said what I just did in the last 2 months.
I do 100 per year.
And I just came on the scene.
I'm a big dog.
By the end of the year,
I love my sister. I love my sister, but you're not going to divide us.
But you can't deny
the real thing is going to be, we need to really talk about black people in 4 years. What are we going to get in 4 years. Let's not talk about the criminal. Let's not talk about the charges.
Can we get the next person up?
4
Are we
years.
still live?
What are we
doing?
going to? What is Harris promising
Sir,
black people
I'm
in
done
4
talking to
years?
you.
That was
The
a
big
valid
dog done
question.
talking to you.
That was a
Let's
valid
get the next
question.
person up.
I understand what
Yeah,
you
don't ever do that with me though. Don't ever do that with me. You'll get your friend embarrassed. Play with your little friends.
I would never be embarrassed.
Yeah, I just want to speak to the people in the Christian community as a Christian. I'm actually very disappointed in some of their point of views, including the abortion rights. Tell people, I've heard a couple of conversations, people saying that a man can't tell me what I need to do with my body. But as a Christian, I just feel like, how can you agree with something or someone who says, when the Lord had already said, do not murder? So how can you agree with somebody who said, yeah, let's go ahead and abort, even when they have came out the womb? You know what I'm saying? And then the lady back there who said, Kara, was that your name? Who said, how can we agree with someone who said, grab people by the vagina? Well, as a Christian, I'm agreeing with Trump, and I don't identify with necessarily either party, but this year I am Team Trump because of his policies. Most of the ones, when I go by line, they agree with Jesus' principles that's laid out in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be mad at someone who half of his principles is aligned with the Bible. I can't disagree with someone who is against the LGBTQIA, DEI plus agendas with men, including men, playing in women's sports. I can't agree with someone who's going to, do the abortion ban. Not do the abortion ban. I cannot agree with someone who's going to go ahead and take away our gun reform when in the Bible, Jesus is actually for us protecting ourselves. Somewhere in Luke, he definitely said, here's 2 swords. Okay. That is enough.
So let's let because she was talking to her in the pink, so she wanted to comment. Come on, sis, because we're running out of time.
Okay. The first thing God called us to do is love.
Correct.
And I think a lot of our speech, yes, 100% has been inflammatory, but he's called us to love and not judge.
Correct.
Second thing God gave us is free will. It's not up to us to decide the cost of somebody's sins and how we're going to act out this person's punishment. So when you sit there and say that Trump's policies align with Jesus Christ, do you hear his speech? Do you hear his speech, though?
He can work on his heart.
But God says in the Bible, judge a man by his fruits. His fruits. Hold on. Please don't talk over me. His fruits are inflammatory. His fruits are rotten. So please don't disrespect my Jesus Christ like that. Okay, my family was and let me also go back just a little bit more. My family was very instrumental. And let me also say, my family was very instrumental. Is this mic on? Can people hear me?
I feel like it wasn't either. But go ahead, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm also saying this as a person whose family was instrumental in founding the AME Church. I don't know where your relationship with God went wrong, and I'll retract that because I can't judge where you're. But I think you need to go back to the Bible a little bit more and have some one-on-one time with Him to really think about whether the person that you're calling to represent this country actually represents Jesus Christ, or whether he's actually thwarting Jesus' word.
You said that I'm disrespecting Jesus Christ, but what is disrespectful when he is the one who creates life? I think anybody who's a Christian can say he is the end-all, be-all. He is the Alpha and Omega. He is the only one responsible for life. So what is disrespectful to the Lord Jesus Christ is him giving you a baby and giving you life and you dropping it at his feet saying, I don't want it because you don't want to control who you having sex with. If you do not want to have a baby with somebody that you don't want a baby with, you don't need to be having sex with that person. Maybe you need to close your legs. Maybe that's what you need to do because you just don't want to be responsible with your body count. You want to use I don't want a man telling me what to do with my body as an output and as an excuse. But that is not. You telling me I'm disrespectful and I need to revisit. Maybe you need to revisit.
Okay, so when you relax. We wanted to pass. We want nobody. We got
irrelevant conversation.
How is it irrelevant if we're talking about policies?
Sis, hold on.
It's irrelevant, young lady.
Can't hear. Let's let him respond.
It's irrelevant because there's this such thing called separation between church and state. Your religious beliefs. If you will just let me finish, your religious beliefs do not supersede my right as an American to not subscribe to that if I so choose. The government does not allow, the government is not inside my bedroom. The government shouldn't be inside your bedroom. What you do between you and God, you'll sort it out when you go seek salvation later. But for the government to try and sort that out through law makes no sense because this is not, everyone in this country is not Christian.
Well, one thing about it, no, because when I first came up here, I said, as a Christian, I'm disappointed in the Christian's point of view.
Please don't,
so
please
don't say I'm
don't,
speaking to anybody else.
please don't disrespect me or yourself, okay? Please do not.
The way you just did by saying that you're for killing the baby when he said don't murder, that disrespect, is that the same disrespect we're talking about?
Now, wait a minute,
okay.
Deaconess Figaro said, let's let everybody
Deacon
have
Figaro, go ahead.
Figaro, let's let everybody have, Deaconess, let him finish his point, and then we got to let somebody else come up.
Go ahead, because I do want to hear what you was finna say. Go ahead.
Yes. What I am saying is that all of that is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You should sort that out with your church.
Mm.
You should not be sorting that out with government officials. Because guess what? There are people who also interpret the Bible to say that it justified your enslavement. That justifies you being mistreated as a black person based on their biblical interpretation. Do you want that codified into law? No. So if you don't want that codified into law on the other side, you should probably just take your religious beliefs and have them inside of your house of faith.
I can't.
So we're done. Hold on. We're moving on.
I just want to make one
No.
sentence.
I can't because they're literally having me. We got to move on. We got to move on.
And you got to respect me. I don't know who you think you talking to, but I can get up in here real quick because I was respecting her authority. If she has authority, there's no need for you to jump in when somebody else is speaking. You have been on 10 since we've been in here. You need to take your emotions out of it because I am listening to everybody else's opinion. It's you who need to take your authority out.
Ooh. Welcome to the debate after the debate show. Let's move on to the next topic. I do want to touch on immigration. Y'all, it's all right, y'all. It's okay. Like, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, y'all get so paranoid. So now,
it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Sometimes furniture gets moved.
Yeah, and sometimes furniture needs to get moved.
In fairness, the Bible does say you are supposed to love God out loud. So we cannot chastise her for feeling like her goals should be reflective of her faith.
Moving on. Yeah, we're just moving on.
And I understood you, and I wanted to make sure everybody else understood.
Y'all like separation of church and state, though.
Well, 501c3s
we just want to move on. We just want to move on to the next. We just want to move on to the next.
Churches want to get rid of
Excuse me, Deaconess is talking.
But the tax exemption makes them a part of the federal government. So unless they want to get rid of their tax exemption,
so they don't like law and order. Do y'all like law and order or not?
I'm just saying.
The sis, brother, we want to move on to the next. Again, y'all make sure y'all tell Revolt. I just want to be clear. We want to be able to have longer conversations, be able to have these conversations, but unfortunately we cannot just spend all night on one thing. We want to get to immigration. I want to get your comment, but we want to play a quick clip on immigration because we got to switch conversations. Take a listen.
As I started off the segment, I said white supremacist culture will weaponize them. I always put the blame on white supremacist culture because they use immigration as a form to undermine us.
Well, for a country that claims to be a nation of immigrants, you would think it'd be an easier process for Congress to make it where people can go from being undocumented citizens to being documented ones, right?
It is a slap in the face that we as citizens of the United States of America do not have the resources and support, but you're going to bring people who are not citizens here in our community, in our buildings that we pay taxes for, that you took away from us.
Yeah. Most of the immigrants I know that came here have come from absolutely nothing and have never accepted handouts. So while you're sitting here talking all of this nonsense about how these migrants literally are taking everything from you, understand that's not going to make your life better.
Thoughts on immigration?
So I was born here. Before anybody asked me for my birth certificate, I was born here, but my mother and my father are from the Caribbean. So they are immigrants in this country. They didn't take, first of all, they're black immigrants. So the idea that Donald Trump is questioning VP Harris's race, Jamaicans are some of the blackest people I know. So let's start with that. Also, I think it's important that when we're talking about immigration, there's several things that's wrong with immigration in this country. One, the Republican Party, because they have no ideas, they like to pit people against one another. And so they use people coming here from other countries that they have intentionally destabilized, right? Why are these people coming to America? And it's Democrats too. Under Democratic administrations, U.S. foreign policy causes people from Central and South America to come here because we have destabilized their countries intentionally. Go all the way back to Ronald Reagan, okay? This is nothing new. So the idea that we are saying, oh, they're bringing all these people here. Well, if America minded its own business and wouldn't go stirring up shit in other people's countries, those people would probably stay where they were at.
Thoughts on immigration?
Yeah. So as it relates to immigration, I think it's a really, really, I think it's a really, really funny subject, right? The very folks that say year over year that they can't give resources, right, or that, reparations and everything else to Black Americans in all the blue cities across America, they found a way to give immigrants, illegal immigrants, hundreds of millions of dollars in cities like Chicago. Most recently in states like California, the state Senate passed a bill to grant 0% interest loans, zero down, plus $150,000, I believe it's a tax credit. The reality in this situation is that there is a group of folks that under the Biden-Harris administration have been brought into this country to offset the vote. And that is a legitimate issue for Black Americans today, and we need to deal with it. And oh, by the way, in the process of that, we've got undocumented terrorists that have come into this country that have put our nation at risk. And I have a legitimate issue with that.
Biggest people on the terrorist watch list are white supremacists.
Well, I want to piggyback
every
off
terrorist agency in the United States says that the biggest threat to America is white supremacists, actually.
Okay, well, to piggyback off that, just discussing the resources, as a former foster child, had I aged out, I would have only left the orphanage with a garbage bag full of clothes, and they would have given me a $700 check a month and told me good luck. So I think that it's disgusting, a spit in the face to kids like me who didn't ask to be born into the situations that we were born into, that we would never be able to qualify for the resources that are literally being given to somebody else. Additionally, let's talk about the reasoning why they're coming over here, because we keep talking about the type of people that are coming over here. Let's look about the reasoning why they're even letting them coming over here. Black people are no longer fearing that the Republicans are going to take away our right to vote. These voter suppression arguments are no longer working. Yet if you can threaten an entire demographic of people, it's at 10 million now. We can only imagine what it would be in the next 4 years if this woman wins this office. In which case, now if you tell that large of a demographic of people that they will lose all of their benefits and their citizenship if they were to vote for a Republican, you can guarantee that you now have a new loyal voting base. So in the same way that Black people have been prioritized last, every time we're prioritized first during campaign season, prioritized last during an administration. We're going to go see us be kicked out of the room. We won't even be on the list once these migrants have come over here. There's already 10 million. There's only 49 million of us here. There's only 49 million of us here. Yep. And then if you think about the voter apathy that exists within the Black community, there's not 49 million of us voting. But you can guarantee every single one of those illegals who can get out there and vote is gonna go vote.
When we have more time,
if they're not U.S. citizens,
they're literally voting in our elections.
The left is working to make them citizens.
Not even just make them citizens. They're getting IDs as soon as they get over here.
Citizen. Are they illegal or are they not?
They're illegals, and they're voting in our elections.
They can't be one or the other. They got to be. Are they illegal or not?
Should they be citizens
but no. We're talking about this election right now.
The should is what's driving the vote. The should is what's driving the vote.
Michaela, I would like to ask you a question.
Okay, hold on, guys.
Foster care in which state?
California. The same California that is giving $150,000 to illegal migrants. But if my sister, who just aged out of foster care 2 years ago, she wasn't
Hold on, wait a minute. I agree with giving black Americans the money first, but I do want to ask you this, because, again, this is where this Republican talking point always gets me confused. You were aged out at what age?
No, I didn't age out. I was adopted. Okay. I'm talking about the people who don't.
Okay, but when you said wasn't born, didn't ask to be born in the situation they were.
Yeah, like my mom was on crack and my dad was in and out of prison. Right. That's not a situation I should have to pay for yet for whatever reason. That's right, but the government didn't feel bad enough for me to give me or my family those resources. And then leave immigrants.
Ma'am.
That's a point.
Ma'am. I just want to know, when I hear the Republican talking point, I just want to know when they say pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
I did
when
that.
They say let me finish. I'm talking about to people who were born, because we talked about this before, people that were born with incarcerated parents, people that are born in destitute situations, because your brother would always say, you have an opportunity to get, I'm not talking about you, I'm just saying, what do you say to the Republican that says that despite the situation you were born in, because none of that is systematic, none of it matters, I'm giving the opposing side, none of it matters, pull yourself up by the bootstrap, you're not a victim, don't be a victim, don't cry. What is your answer to a lot of conservatives that say, regardless of the situation you were born in, that you didn't ask to be born in, I'm not talking about immigration, I'm talking about Black Americans.
Yeah.
What is your answer to that? Because Republicans say all the time to stop being a victim and to pull yourself up by the
I genuinely believe
bootstraps.
that once you stop believing that everything is set up against you and that you can't win,
But
you
just
will
a minute
win.
ago, you said it was set up against you because they didn't ask to be born in the situation.
They were asked to be born into this situation, yet for whatever reason, they're not offered the same resources that
But I'm not
somebody
talking
else
about the
who
resources.
also.
The conservatives
Okay,
say
I'm
pull
listening.
yourself up by the bootstrap. They say don't worry about resources.
Okay,
Conservatives
so-
say don't worry about resources. They say don't worry about it, regardless if the parent was
with the
born on
Democrats
crack.
being empowered, ma'am, again, we're talking about context.
We're talking about context.
Okay.
Conservatives say all the time.
Pull yourself up by the bootstraps,
including this
correct?
brother.
Correct.
Pull yourself.
Okay.
So I'm
and
saying
I'm
regardless
saying if
of
the
whose
Democrats
daddy
are
was
willing
on
to
crack,
help these people pull themselves
I'm
up by
not-
the
I didn't
bootstraps,
ask you that.
they should be willing to help others
That's
pull themselves
right,
up
but
by
I
the
didn't
bootstraps.
ask you that.
Now, this isn't a Republican talking
I
point because
asked you.
Republicans wouldn't give it to anybody.
Right, I know.
Okay, so there's that. I came up, I didn't have to get any of that, and yet I walked into a six-figure job.
Yeah.
I dropped out of college and did the same thing, raising my dollar by myself.
Yeah.
I don't believe that telling yourself things aren't going to work out for me or, oh my God,
It's not
I have
about telling
messed up.
it. I'm
It's
just-
once you believe that, that is your life.
I'm not talking about belief.
You tell
I'm talking
yourself,
about-
I'm going to win. I'm
Right.
going to win.
We got
you're gonna
that,
win.
but I'm just saying people that born. I would just want to see your opinion on people that born into.
I went to the
destitute
illustrious Clark
situations.
Atlanta University,
Yeah.
and they told me to find a way or make one.
Right.
So anybody
I
born
believe-
in any
I believe in
situation
that.
will do just
Then
that.
there's no point in talking about that destitute situation.
It is.
Let's move on.
Because right now people are
Let's
being
move on.
allocated resources,
Let's let
and we
it
have
move.
people who
No,
need
but
those
the
resources.
conservatives say
We're
you don't
talking
need the
about the fact
resources.
that we're not prioritizing
Let's
American
let young
citizens.
Josh. No, but that
We're
wasn't what
talking
I
about
asked
we're
you.
not prioritizing
No, you
American
heard me say at the
citizens.
beginning of what I said that I believe it should go to American citizens first.
Okay.
I said that, ma'am.
Okay,
I just
so
asked you
I'm
what was
pointing
your
out the fact
response.
that when we're talking about immigration, we understand that
But that wasn't
Republicans
what I
would
asked
not
you.
give out these resources.
That's all I wanted you
My
to say.
point is Democrats are only
That's all
proposing
I
that
asked
these
you.
resources go to a
Sis.
certain group, and black people need to pay
Ma'am.
attention to the fact that y'all won't get those resources.
Ma'am.
That's the point. Y'all go ahead. Y'all move on.
Ma'am.
I'm right. Move
We
on.
said that it's not about right or wrong.
It is right.
No, it's not.
It is
I just
right.
want to know.
Black people won't get those resources, and therefore
Ma'am.
you should not vote for a Democrat who would
Ma'am.
allow foster children,
Ma'am.
veterans who lost limbs fighting for this
Ma'am.
country, veterans like you and this man
Right,
here,
right.
not get those
We
resources.
agree.
All
We
right,
agree.
all
Girl,
right.
relax.
So if Democrats
We
are
agree.
giving them
Girl,
out,
if you
then
don't
let them
relax,
get. Then why
can
haven't
he- can he
Democrats
speak?
given them
I'm
to
not
black
talking
people?
about no Democrats. I asked
Why
what
haven't
was your
they given them to black
Is
people?
something wrong with her?
No,
No,
I'm
there's
asking.
something wrong with her.
Y'all
I
see
just
how
said-
she's trying to switch it to make
No,
it seem
I
like
just
something's
asked you
wrong
a
with me
simple
when all I'm
question.
trying to do is
Girl,
point out the
relax.
fact that black people
Relax.
are not being prioritized in the
Ma'am,
administration. Therefore,
relax.
when you ask about what
Relax.
Republicans are doing for us,
Relax.
what are Democrats doing
I
for
didn't
y'all?
ask you that.
Besides putting you last.
Nobody asked you that.
Thank you.
Nobody asked you that. What I'm asking you now is to let young
John, please go ahead and share your thoughts.
I'm asking you to share your thoughts. I didn't ask you any of that. Girl, relax.
I had to put it in there because I
No.
saw where you were trying to pigeonhole
No, I
it,
wasn't
and I
pissed. I
wasn't
just
going
asked you a
there.
simple question. You the one that was at
No.
Chick-fil-A, wasn't you?
No, yeah, it was me.
Okay, yeah, I
Mhm.
thought so.
What does that make? Does that prove a point of some sort?
No, I just want to know.
Since
It's a
I got
simple
found
question.
an
Why y'all can't
opportunity
answer
and I
simple
took it,
questions?
right?
What's wrong with
Let's
it?
let
All right.
Let her
so,
finish. Girl,
No,
relax.
but people try to associate Chick-fil-A and
No,
call me
I
a
asked
chicken
because
girl
I
and
wanted to
stuff
make
like
sure
that.
that was one because you was in there.
But I was also the girl who spoke at the
Chick-
rally. I was
Yeah,
also
and so
the girl
was
who,
I.
you know, I'm also the
And so
girl
was
who
I.
mobilizes
Then run
HBCU
them
students
seats.
every year. I'm also
Baby.
the one who provides
Girl, if
internships
you
and
don't
jobs
relax.
to these kids. So stop acting like all I am is a girl that showed up at Chick-fil-A.
Girl,
Let's not do that.
You shouldn't have
Let's not do that.
Do you want to do the receipts
As I had the opportunity to meet a president and it happened to be at Chick-fil-A, I'm going. I'm going. If I can meet a president, how many people in this room have met a president? Okay,
Can you let
don't
him
care
speak?
where
I
you
just
meet him
want to
at?
ask, 'cause
If I
you didn't
ran
even
into
let me
Trump at a
ask.
gas station,
You
I would have been
asked.
just as excited.
Girl,
So
relax.
trying to
We
act
get
like
it. You ride for Trump. We get it. We get it.
or
You gonna
I
be in the White
respect
House.
high
We got
offices,
it.
and
Good, we
therefore,
got it.
yes, I would be honored to meet a president, regardless of who it is. Go ahead.
They are literally, the people are literally asking you to stop so we can
well,
move
you can
on.
tell they didn't ask you to stop, but I have to.
It's my show, man. See, that's the problem. You keep forgetting. Oh my God.
Moderator, we should do that.
So-
I shouldn't be going back and forth with the moderator. But
No, actually you should.
It's okay.
Actually you should.
I didn't see that happen at the debate, but okay.
So
All right.
there's some things we can all align on.
No, respectfully, right? When I first got the opportunity to talk, I spoke on the concept of us, being passionate about what we believe in our beliefs. And the simplest assessment that I could come up with tonight from being back in the green room, watching y'all before I got out here, I realized we all get riled up for both of these parties, right? And the only time I seen everybody calm down and all that shit subside where we could talk like adults and actually listen is when we all realized ain't nobody really did shit for us when it comes to reparations. And that's when y'all all got quiet when you start. No. When y'all start talking about these immigrants getting it all, they're getting reparations.
So
really, basically.
He don't believe in reparations.
But okay, even if he doesn't, I noticed the room, the air changed, the climate immediately. It got stiff for a second, like. Like, oh, now everybody agree. Ain't neither side done any of that for any of us.
That's fine, but he don't believe in reparations.
So I started to realize that
Obama, we talking about him.
this is where the divisiveness comes in at. At that one moment when we all came to this point of realizing that ain't nobody got no reparations in this room, nobody look like us. But it don't matter if he believe in it or not. I noticed that everybody in the room was like, oh shit. Everybody else getting, but we ain't. So are we all getting played on either side of it?
But Jock, they never say, no, this is important, because this is why we keep, me and this brother dance and do this all the time.
I see.
We do this all the time. I don't have no problem saying Democrats ain't shit, Republicans ain't shit. My problem with a lot of, because I'm independent, but my problem with a lot of Republicans is they never acknowledge that Republicans also, that's not what he's saying.
Okay.
They're not saying that, oh, we don't get what we want from either party. They're saying, which is why I invited them here to stomp down hard for Trump. They are saying that the Republican Party is better. They are saying that Trump is better. They are saying, this brother said, Democrats, I admit, Democrats don't do what they should do. It's usually on this side of the aisle where they actually say, we don't do both sides. On this side, you do not get acknowledgement on what Republicans don't do. You heard the brother proud to say, ain't nobody gonna get to be in the big house but baby, that ain't no flex. That ain't no flex. Ain't nobody trying to be in the house. I'm in the field all day. So what I'm saying is that's not true. When we talk about reparations, it'll get just back turned up. So I know you want a peaceful, calm environment, but unfortunately, that's just not where we at.
It's not about peaceful and calm, but I sat here and I watched when y'all started talking about the immigrants and people, no matter what side you on, red or blue, everybody felt the same. It was the same context of like saying, all these people getting it, we still ain't got.
Yeah.
So then wait,
but
then
once
that point got pushed off of this little table right here, off the little coffee table, it dissipated. Shit went right back up because it went back to going to opposing side.
I know, but Jack, what I'm trying to tell you is,
because I think there's some things
he believes that Republicans, they believe that Republicans is the way.
And it's safe to say that you're much further leaning left than I am. Absolutely. I think there are some things that he and I can agree to, and that's where we need to go in our community. We don't have to agree on all things, but we do need to start finding some alignment. And so here's where I would say, that brother just sat here and told me that his parents immigrated to this country and took no handouts. And my father immigrated to this country and did the same. And fast food didn't exist for my mother. They both went to HBCUs, they both worked 2 jobs, they both put themselves through school, and they both did a great job with me, my 2 sisters, bought homes, multiple homes, sold them and built wealth. And it sounds like to me, your parents, who had the same work ethic, turned you into a relatively, I'm gonna use the word successful or productive citizen in this country. Sure. And so, irregardless of whether I'm on the left or I'm in the right, we got to do a better job. What this brother was saying earlier, finding some alignment. Well, hold on. Finding some alignment, because if this young lady goes to the White House or tells you the one, and you go into the White House, and the rest of us don't.
Be clear about that.
And the rest of us don't. What we need in our community is Black Americans that are going to represent the concerns of all Black Americans, not just those on the left or the right or independent.
Brother, the problem that we have every single time is you never talk about what the Republicans do wrong. And I'm going to keep pressing you that all the time, because although he said, yes, his parents picked himself up out of bootstrap, he's also a Democrat that believes in a safety net to give the resources to those who were born in difficult situations. And we've had this conversation. No, but we've had this conversation, and we ain't going to sit up here and play no game because Young Jock got y'all feeling good about, oh man, we all aligned. We all aligned that we're not getting what we're supposed to get. But brother, each and every time you still don't say that Republicans do something wrong. That's all.
Listen, can I jump in? I done got beat up in this debate all night. Yeah, man.
Ask a question. Actually, a couple of things. One, I think it's a huge misnomer that all immigrants are Latinx, right? I think it's a lot of people of African descent also make up a large part of the immigrant population, just like you just said and just like he's already spoken to. So we are actually helping our own people when we help immigrants, right? Because if we're all people of African descent, don't we all agree? We're all people of African descent. So we are helping our people when we help people of African descent that are coming from Belize, that are coming from Honduras, that are coming from Jamaica, that are coming from DR, that are coming from Haiti. Those are people of African descent. So those are our people that we're helping. I think they use that they say that it's Latinx people to kind of confuse the issue. But when you really look at the numbers, there's just as many people of African descent that are immigrating into this country as well. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is...
Wait, hold on, brother. Wait, because he's really about to go in. So I want to show, just like for sake of Young Jock, because he really wants us to be kumbaya. Y'all agree that y'all pulled up by the bootstraps. Immigrant, my parents wasn't no immigrants. I'm just saying y'all agree. But this is where the disagreement comes into play. So it's cool, they agree, but baby, the disagreement comes into play when we start talking about the solution. And it is okay to have a disagreement in the solution. We don't have to just stay right here and say, we just agree to agree. No, when we start talking about the solution, that's where you're gonna see these brothers got different opinions. He gonna say, oh, hell no, we not helping no immigrants over black Americans. And this brother gonna say, no, there still needs to be, if he's a true Democrat, a safety net for those who cannot. Democrat socialist to the highest level. So explain your position so Young Jock can see that no, this is where the solution, the difference of opinion comes in the solution, and that is what politics is all about. So even though y'all agree that y'all pulled up by the bootstraps, what is your position when it comes to immigration and helping immigrants? Let's just put it on the table. We already know y'all disagree. I just want to hear his opinion.
Great. Yeah, so a couple of things. I think, one, weaponizing local law enforcement to enforce immigration policy is wrong, right? Because we know that harkens back to the times where you had to check your freedom papers. The fact of the matter is that whether you're black from Jamaica or you black from Atlanta or you black from Mississippi, when that police officer pulls your ass over, they see a black person. They don't care if you got an accent or not. And so we are stronger together than we are opposed to one another. So I have been on record not supporting the laws that the Republicans have been trying to pass here in the state of Georgia around making sure that local law enforcement can jail undocumented people in the city of Atlanta and across the state of Georgia. Because one, we want to talk about money. Do you know how much money it costs to run these detention centers? Do you know how much money it costs to enforce these immigration laws on people who oftentimes, the idea that people are coming to this country knowing their papers are not legit and they're gonna come here and commit all these crimes is just ridiculous. Most immigrants are trying to what? Stay under the radar. If your parents are immigrants, what they say? Listen, we just work. We're not trying to cause no waves. We're not saying none of that because they already know they already are coming to an extra level of scrutiny just because they have that undocumented status by their name. And so I believe that we're throwing good money over good by spending so much money on enforcing these immigration laws instead of creating a pathway for people to have citizenship.
Right. So that's all I'm saying, Jock. It can be nice and quiet for just that 1-2 minutes.
Now, where's your
once we start
disagreement?
getting into the solution, that's where things
I'm going to wait till I have the floor.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Piece. We talk about the resources and what it takes to run a penitentiary. Right? Okay? That's absurd. Democrats said that $5 billion was too much to build a wall. And today we spent $450 billion on policies and programs and resources for migrants. And that pretty much sums it up. That pretty much sums it up.
You're talking about the wall.
We can't complain about resources.
You're talking about the wall.
I don't hear anybody in our community challenging Clayton County right now relative to the budget as it relates to the prison.
Oh, me?
Nobody.
I went after Victor Hill. I went after Victor Hill.
Can I have the floor?
Yeah, please.
I get it that liberal politicians are arguing the point.
But let's not say nobody. The brother just said he did.
The people of these communities. Yeah. The people of these communities not arguing about what's invested in the prison, but liberals will argue about the resources.
We acknowledge it because you used the absolute. You said nobody. The brother said he did, though.
They want to argue. They want to argue about the resources that are needed in all types of programs, prisons, schools, et cetera, so forth and so on. But the people down on the ground, the people in Pittman Park, and the dudes off Techwood, they not complaining. They not talking about how the prison is funded. The reality is that money flows back into liberal politicians' pockets, et cetera, so forth and so on, and it never makes it into improvements in these facilities. It doesn't make it into these kids' pockets, et cetera, so forth and so on. And that's from somebody who grew up in a blue city as an institutional Democrat.
Let me. So,
relax, brother.
If you know,
let him respond. Stop trying. Hold on. You made your position. Let him respond. Let him respond.
Georgia,
let him respond because he said nobody was challenging it, and you said you did. So let's respond.
One, to know me, Michaela knows this because she sees me down at City Hall.
This is my first time meeting you. Everybody
She sees me down at City Hall. She sees me down at Fulton County Commission, the largest county in the state of Georgia. They just tried to propose a $2 billion jail. And you know who came down there to speak about it? It was black folks. old black folks, young black folks who knew that if we were spending $2 billion on a new jail, that meant that they were going to defund senior services. That means that they were going to defund our hospitals. And guess what? This isn't a partisan issue because many of the people who proposed this were Democrats. They got D's by their name, and I had smoke for them too. Because if you're going to stand against black people, no matter what party you're affiliated with, you're going to have a problem with me.
So why did you say nobody?
The Democrats that are pushing for the construction of a prison in this state are the same Democrats that benefit from the set-asides associated with the construction of that prison.
Sir, hold on, wait a minute.
The reality is they want to push money into building prisons because it makes money.
Stop talking loud. We got to acknowledge this brother work. Because you sat up here and said nobody said anything. And this brother just told you that he did.
No,
so
he's saying that black folks went down and lobbied for the funds for a prison. And I'm saying nobody from Tech Woods, nobody from Clayton County, none of the people of those communities are asking.
You said nobody.
Lobbied against
black politicians in the Democrat Party that got construction companies and so forth are pushing for the set-aside associated with that construction.
What this brother's doing.
I'm in the construction industry.
Brother, you ain't the only one doing the work.
It's about running that money right back through the circle.
Let him I just want to know why the brother can't acknowledge your work.
Listen.
Why he can't acknowledge your work, though?
Listen. The problem is...
That's weird, brother.
The problem is because I understand that we sometimes speak in absolute and hyperbole, right? I know that was an SAT word I dropped down. It's cool. But sometimes we just gotta speak to the facts and we gotta speak to the rock.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that our mayor, our city council, our county commission, who are Democrats and Republicans, push to expand the prison industrial complex in the city of Atlanta. That was bipartisan support, right?
Fair.
In Georgia, who has been mostly under Republican leadership, and even when it was Democrats, they were Dixiecrats, so they were Republicans for all intents and purposes. They have governed a budget where we spend $8.1 billion on police, prisons, and jails. We don't spend that on public education. We don't spend that on hospitals. We don't spend that on money and direct assistance to black communities. We don't.
Okay.
And it's a Republican issue too.
Right.
And so, to your point, Tez, this is sometimes my frustration with Trumpers, with Republicans, with conservatives, because I can call out the folks on the left.
That's right.
In fact, I spend more time fighting people on the left than I do on the right. Because they're trying to out-Republican y'all.
That's right.
But the problem that I have with conservatives is that, particularly black conservatives, is we can see as plain as day, Republicans will push an agenda that is not for black people, and y'all will say, y'all will come up with every rhyme, reason, excuse, tap dance, this, that, and the third. Come on.
But
sometimes we gotta call a thing.
The current vice president said that she would not support a policy that was directed toward black Americans, but she gave $25 to $50 million to Asian Americans.
Okay.
Come on.
We talk.
Come on. Yes.
Am I one of them black Republicans?
You are not one of those black
But
Republicans.
And neither am I.
You are not. There you go. Fine. Which is why we go to lunch together.
We gotta switch. Right. Okay. So Young Jock, to make Young Jock happy, we got two people where they agree. All we saying is, because Young Jock really wants y'all to be happy.
I'm taking it in.
We gotta move to the immunity. We gotta move on. All I'm saying is, we want to see that, or at least me, more in the public space. You know, the
difficult thing. I mean, I'm not as public.
Sometimes you have less than a second to
No, we're talking about right now.
Life and death
I mean, I haven't.
decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake. They're going to be indemnified. We're going to pay them for their costs, for their lawyers. You know, policemen have to go, in many cases, hire a lawyer to protect themselves. The state doesn't want to get involved. These people are crazy. When they're standing there in front of a department store that's being looted by 400, mostly kids, but other people too, and they want to do something so badly, but they're told not to because there's liability. They're not going to have any more liability. They're going to do their job. They're going to stop it.
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I would really hit you in the name of Jesus.
You better not. I swear to God, I'll you in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot! Drop the pot!
What did I do?
in the apartment?
Nobody. My girlfriend's dead.
Tell him we have 11015.
What?
How's your girlfriend?
I don't know.
Inside?
Yeah, somebody. I was banging at the door and she said, "Who is it?" And the others started shooting.
No.
I got COVID, man. I can't breathe.
Take a seat.
Please, man. Please listen to me.
Is he going to jail?
Listen to me.
He's under arrest right now for forgery.
I tell you.
Can we figure out what's going on?
All right, immunity. We've had this conversation before. I know the Republican talking point is they already got immunity. But Donald Trump has said that he believes in federal immunity. Want to get your thoughts on it? Let's go with Jock first, because we don't have y'all take over and then Jock can sit up in one. So let him be the cooler head.
Man, look,
on immunity.
So you know me, like I'm a good guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't get in a lot of trouble at all, for real. And I've seen police handle me so crazy sometimes, man. And it's just like they got to be held accountable. Just immunity because you've gone through an academy, you made a pledge, you know what I'm saying, an oath to the community and to be a protector and a servant of the community. That's great. I do applaud good policing. I applaud it. Now, I'm gonna keep it 100. Some people are just, some people need governing, period, point blank. A lot of us do, let's just be for real. So when you get a good police officer, it's one thing. But when you, like myself, I've been in a situation where I've been snatched out the car, thrown right into these two right here, this right here, these two, this come from handcuffs. They were looking for my brother. I had nothing to do with nothing going on. I still got thrown into the bushes. I got beat up, and they tried to put a murder charge on me, right? Then they found out they had the wrong person. I still got charged with criminal disorderly conduct, which is a criminal charge. So I can't even go and get my firearm, my carry concealed permit, because at that point, I can't now, but at that point, because it was a criminal charge. But I'm like, hey, so what's gonna happen? Y'all just beat me up and did all this to me. I still didn't get the charge taken away. I think sometimes, man, you gotta understand, when we start talking about immunity, Stephen A., he was just talking about Tyreek Hill. And he said, well, all you had to do was roll up the window. He told you don't roll the window down. No, he told you don't roll the window, just leave the window down. Well, you looking at it on that end, but when you getting pulled over and the level of aggression is already here before, because they ain't treating you like they treating Tom.
No.
Hi, hey, great. Just want to let you know you're speeding. I was like, you get your license. No, I ain't think they like walking up, their hand on the gun, off rip. I just told a story today. Tell me I'm lying. I told the doctor, I told the police officer, hey man, listen, y'all got the wrong car that just sped past you. I said, I'm having twins right now. He said, you having twins? Right now? I said, yeah, I got to get there. He said, hold on. He called backup. Backup came. I'm like, why y'all call backup? Snatched me out of the car. Boom, threw me in handcuffs. I said, hey, why you doing that? You know what he said? Because I'm trying to save your life. Because I know that you have a real serious situation right now. I don't want you to do anything that goes against what we're telling you, because you feel in your mind, you got to get to this hospital to see your twins be born, and something happened, I kill you right here on the side of the expressway. And I looked at him like, damn, I ain't never see it like that. But, you know, I'm serious, because it put me in a position where I was like, hey, man, but I wasn't finna do nothing to get killed or I'm going to jail. Y'all told me I'm going to jail. He told me I was going to jail.
So the other officer didn't anything ever happen to him? Would they ever?
No, and that police officer, he apologized. He said, man, I'm sorry. He didn't have to slam you on the ground like that. I dusted you off a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
So I want to see if you're
gotta
gonna
be
stand. So I want to see if you're gonna stand on business, because I know your position with this. So let's run back what you said last time as far as
I'm pro. Look,
you pro what?
The police departments across America, the vast majority of the stops that happen on a day-to-day basis are correct. They are just, and the vast majority of police officers across America are doing a great job in our communities and in others. That said, these incidents that you see, like the one we just saw that they just had on the screen, are an issue, okay? They are an issue, but they are exceptions, not the rule. And so what we need, in my opinion, as a young black Republican, and I disagree with a lot of other Republicans on this topic, is we need a right-sized approach to deal with these exceptions and hold those folks accountable.
Do you
and
say
so that's my opinion.
So
and
what
that's
I
my
asked you
approach on it.
earlier about disproportion, you know how you like to give the disproportion facts on abortion?
Yeah, I went crazy.
Would you say that disproportionately, the exceptions that you're talking about, do they disproportionately affect black men?
I would say that black men are pulled over more disproportionately stereotyped and pulled over than any other group of folks in America. Yes, I would. I would. We're not running from the truth.
No, but earlier you wouldn't, when I asked you that, remember we talked about that for like over an hour. You didn't want to
as it related to the other topic. As it related to the other topic, we're probably not going to ever agree. But I would agree with you in this topic.
Just because, again, in the spirit of being bipartisan, it is not a Democrat or Republican issue because the Democrats
They say it is, though.
I don't believe so because I see every day how Democratic officials empower the police, make excuses for the police, don't prosecute the police.
Both sides.
Right? On both sides.
Both sides.
That's bipartisan. So, like, I don't want to make this a Republican or Democrat issue because it is an American problem. It is America's problem. It is for both political parties. Because right now, you know, folks has smoked with Fani Willis for a variety of reasons, right, around this Trump case. That actually wasn't my issue with her.
But can I ask...
My issue with D.A. Willis was all of the police officers who we know have killed people, like Deacon Holloman, a 62-year-old deacon in the city of Atlanta.
But before we move to goalposts, I want to know...
officer.
Okay, but before we move to goalposts, I still want to know the answer to my question about Trump and saying that he would grant immunity to all police officers. What's your position on that?
I think that immunity granted to all police officers, it impacts, relative to protecting police and allowing them to do their jobs, I think that serves 98 or 99%.
So should it be immunity for all federal police officers? Yes or no?
I'm with it until we have a right-sized approach to dealing with
So
exceptions.
the answer is yes.
But we need to deal with the exceptions in our community.
We got it, but the answer is yes.
We left out the part of the interview, though, where he also said there would be an ethics board.
I want to get a clear answer. I want to get a clear answer before you start talking.
Your question is yes.
Yes, you support. That's all I wanted to get to know.
That, bro.
Yeah.
But I also said, don't get hung up on listen to everything I said.
Okay.
What I said was we need to find a right-sized approach for the exceptions. The vast majority of police officers need to be able to do their job free of red tape and other types of shenanigans that would distract from this conversation today.
So
taking place in places like California.
What's an exception?
We just saw the young lady got shot in her house.
In the house,
right? We got to do something about that.
Do you make an exception for that?
Can we agree that there needs to be something that deals with that? I'm saying we need to hold
But
what I'm saying is, but that is a very small, that is a minute, less than 1%.
Speaking of
on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, now you're speaking of the minute percentage, right?
Yeah, man.
What about the stories that we don't see, that we haven't seen, that nobody ever talked about it, but people in the city realize nobody want to talk about it, so they feel like they defeated, they can't win.
It's part of the reason why I wasn't a supporter of the Obama 21st Policing Act, because why? Body cameras so we can just see black folks getting killed on camera in HD? They don't stop anybody from getting killed.
Well, I disagree.
Well, I think that would have.
What actually stops people from being killed is a complete transformation of how we do public safety.
But we need
more of us who's not body officers.
But we need body cameras.
I didn't say that's the solution, but that's a part of. We got to have body cams.
But we got,
because that's the only way we're gonna see what need to be said.
My challenge with that, Tez, is that we have allowed black politicians and white to pacify us and say, oh, okay, well, we got you body cameras. That reform
we still got more work to do.
And more black people have been killed. More black people have been killed by the police.
But brother, we still got more work to do, but we absolutely need the body cam. I just want to be clear about that. We got more work to do. We got more work to do. We need a right-sized approach. I just wanted to know, yes or no, do you support President Trump saying immunity for all police officers? It's just a simple yes or no. We can get to the solution on what it should be.
Come on, Caleb.
Let's just talk about what it is.
Come on, Caleb.
Do you support
I want to point out that we cut the clip short because it's not just automatic federal immunity for all officers in which all these officers can run and cause chaos in our streets. There will still be a board that they have to answer to. There will still be cases like Sonia Massey, which they talked about at that conference as well, in which he said those policemen were not doing their job and those policemen would not be eligible for federal immunity. So like what you said, we need to keep the body cameras because when we're talking about does this officer deserve immunity for whatever complaint has been risen against him, we can check the camera for that. And then once we've checked this footage, now we can take it to this board.
But do you agree they should get immunity, yes or no? I just want to know that.
And the way that it was presented,
I'm just asking
in the way, I'm talking about federal immunity in the way that it's presented with the board, not automatic, just let cops do whatever they want, which is what the narrative is. The actual policy is federal immunity, but there will be a process like there is with everything.
Yeah, I just wanted to know.
That I can deal with that, yes. And wait, when we talk, because Jock asked about what was an example. You think about, you see children walking around with black eyes and bloody clothes, and cops can't do anything about it because nobody said anything or the child has not admitted that anything has happened to them. And that point, if that cop decides to break the law to save the life of a child, I am with that. And yes, they can be immune for whatever kidnapping charge the parent tries to rise against them for taking the child because you were not taking care of said child. And again, I've seen how horrible some parents are to their children.
That also should go before a board too. A police officer at that particular time is not judge, jury, and executor.
I will say
that's the problem.
Though,
and so let's be clear about that. Let's be clear about that.
Yes.
It's not up to because the same way we're saying that it should go before a board and decide immunity, not immunity. Also, in the case of child abuse as well, I was a guardian ad litem in Florida for a very long time. It's not up to the police officer to be judge, jury, and executor. So when you say, "Oh, I believe you can do whatever because you hurt that child and you should be," we don't know.
He should be able to take the child. But
because that's judge, jury, and executor, and that's
if the child has a black eye and blood stains coming out the bottom of the back,
and if a black man get dragged out of the car and get shot because he didn't let the window down fast enough, you say that should go before a board. So let's go that before a board.
It's going to go before a board. At the end of the day, if a black man kills anybody, he's going to have to go before a jury as well. So I'm not understanding.
We want to make one comment. Either we going before the board or we not.
I want to clarify
something. We going before the board or we giving immunity or we're not. I don't want no police being judge, jury, and executor. That's why we got the courts.
This policy that Trump is talking about, one, only extends to federal officers. The vast majority of police brutality cases take place with state and local police. So if you want to see safer streets where you are not concerned about having the type of run-ins with the police that many black people can talk about, it's a state and local issue, right? The president
brother, wait a minute, hold up. We know that, but let's, hold on.
No, everybody does not know that.
I know that, but no.
You know that.
No, but we got to be clear, though. When you're talking about something from the federal level, that can also trickle down to the state and the local.
Sure,
So let's not, because when the sister's over here, thank you. No. Anytime, when you have somebody saying, let's get full immunity, let's be rougher with them, rough them up, that's a problem. Now, you don't have to be this problem. You say you don't want body cam. I ain't never heard no progressive say that.
I said, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Also, what I said was body cameras are not enough.
Right.
If you're not going to prosecute the people, if you're not going to prosecute the people when we see someone black being killed on film, what the fuck is the point of the body camera?
But we still need it, though. No, I want the same page, but the way you presented it the first time was
that's
saying
why
don't
I wanted
stop
to clarify.
No problem. That's what clarification is all about. Let's give some closing thoughts from our guests because we got to wrap up. We've been going way too long. Closing thoughts tonight on the actual debate.
On
Harris and Trump.
Yeah, on the actual debate. There's a person with a record of positive economic growth in this country. There's a person with a record that demonstrates that his foreign policy works. And then there is a person that you just don't know where they stand. And over the last 3 or 4 years, that person and their counterpart hadn't produced any positive outcomes for our community, nor the larger American community. And I would just urge that everybody use logic rather than allowing the media or the news to manipulate them on the basis of their emotion. That's my comment.
Okay. Closing thoughts.
All right. Well, I would hope that from this debate, everybody was able to really identify what issues each candidate stands on. I think that, it's important that everybody does their due research after this, after especially hearing what the candidates had to say and which side they stand on and where the moderators said they flipped beforehand and what exactly was going on. I think the thing that everybody should take away from tonight is that context is important, whether it was what we talked about or what they were talking about on stage. But you heard, Kamala Harris keep mentioning Project 2025, and that has nothing to do with Trump. And so, you heard her say, you heard her keep skipping over the border issue, and she kept skipping over the migrant issue. And that should speak very loud to especially Black America as to why she can't speak to why you guys haven't been prioritized during her administration. You also heard her admit to how much she has been able to do, or heard her claim all that she has done during this administration. So I would ask that you all please stop making excuses for all the things that she hasn't done by saying she couldn't do them because she was the vice president. And so taking away from this debate, yes, I hope that you guys would think of all of those things and, vote based off the facts and not, just somebody else's feelings.
Yeah, y'all Republicans love talking about facts over feelings. Go ahead.
I think people have to make a sound decision about what makes sense. Fact of the matter is that we have someone that's running for president who has multiple charges. He staged one of the first insurrections in the United States in modern history. If you were to engage in all of these criminal activity, would you be allowed to even have a job, much less run for president of the United States? We got to stop making politics in America a reality TV show. Trump has ushered that in. Also, on the other side, VP Harris absolutely has problems. Has she done everything right? No. Are there policies that we don't agree with her on? Yes. And when we're looking for stability, when we're looking for policy that we can actually disseminate, talk about, debate, she's the only one up there that's actually offered solid policies. She's the only one up there that has actually offered a plan. Trump has
nobody interrupt them. See, this is what y'all got to stop that. Because nobody interrupted them when they gave their closing thoughts. Stop that. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about in the back. This is why, again, this is why don't nobody have respect for y'all. Let this brother finish what he's saying. Nobody did. No, it's important. We got to point that out. Nobody was hemming and hawing. No, everybody let y'all get y'all Republican talking points off. So let him finish. No, I'm telling you to let him. I'm asking you to let him finish. No, but I'm asking you to let him finish. We get it. We know you for Trump. We got it.
We get it. We get it, sir.
We got it. They got your clock.
Sir.
They got your clock. We got it.
It's fine.
Let him finish.
It's fine. Listen, I don't have to. I recognize that some people have gotten into the snake oil of Donald Trump and has fallen underneath his spell. I have not. Some of us still have independent voices. With that being said, this election cycle, there's more on the ballot than just President of the United States. Mm-hmm. Here in the city of Atlanta, we have to elect a new at-large city council member. I'm looking forward to winning that election on November 5th because local government matters. Many of the things that we talked about, that we were so passionate about, state and local government is the ones that actually make the decision on whether those things move forward or not. Mm-hmm. And so I remind people to be educated, to seek the facts. Don't just get one side of it. Find out all of the information and make an informed decision. And don't forget about your state and local offices on the ballot.
Good stuff. Young Doc, give us we all agree.
Hey, here it is, man. Here it is. You have to inform yourself. Like you say, knowledge is power. Yeah. Hey, look, man, you got to be steadfast on trying to gain as much knowledge as you can. And we got, 50-something days before this election?
56.
Listen, 56 days. Yeah. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I hear these policies on both sides, and I know 100% of the policy is never going to go through on either side, of it, red or blue. Yeah. It's not. It's just, it never happens that way. It has never happened that way, and I don't think it will ever happen that way. But I will say that I'm sitting here, I'm listening to this debate. I hear one person who comes off as if they are... they have a warm spot for the country. They're pushing policies that they say, hey, this is gonna make for a better economy. It's gonna be better for the American people. Then I hear another person that says, hey, look, here, man, whatever you say, I'm gonna do what I wanna do because people fear me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying I'm saying somebody fear me, but somebody else said people fear me. They know I ain't gonna let certain things happen. And I think that some Americans feel like, hey man, this man is willing to be a bully on our behalf. And whatever you believe in, whatever you stand up for, hey man, continue to educate yourself on that because the freedoms that we are, the freedoms that are on the table right now today may not be there 4 years from now, no matter what, either side to go. But I will say this, look, y'all quit getting caught up in this, because I still feel like on both sides, more needs to be done for the people that look like me. And I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Amen.
Yes.
Well, my closing thoughts is, once again, I want to thank Revolt. I want to thank you guys for coming. You're always welcome. No other network, platform, or otherwise have dared to take a live show, live, raw, unedited, with far right, far left, independent, in the middle. I ask that the comments be flow tonight, just so y'all know. That means the trolls, the bots, they calling me everything but a child of God. They talking about you, they talking about us. They doing all of that. We have got to grow up and understand that politics is messy. It's messy. It's chaotic. Yes. It's things that we're passionate about. It's not designed for everybody to feel good. It's designed for this sister to say, I love my God, and this is what it is, and I'm going to stand on business. And it's okay for this sister over here to say, no, that's not how God works. We have got to be okay with having these uncomfortable conversations. We are never going to get anywhere if we don't have the conversation. So if nothing else, I guarantee that somebody heard something today that made them say, you know what, she got a point. Or you know what, he got a point. And if they don't, it did something to prick your conscience. And I stand on that. And I may not be the best moderator or the best host or the best this or the best that tells you got. But at the end of the day, I believe in what we're doing, and I believe in what we're doing here. And until MSNBC and CNN and all the rest of them invite black folks in the room like this, we still did a better job than anybody could have done, because you actually have voice here at Revolt. Right. So I want to thank Revolt for that. I want to thank you for always coming and always disagreeing or not agreeing or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, hey,
agreeing to disagree.
Agreeing to disagree. And you're welcome back. And I hope we can continue to have this conversation. And I know all my folks, it's so, but this is what it is. And I know we got
Jerry Springer of political.
That's right. That's right. That's how politics should be. So good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Give yourself a round of applause. We made it.
Can somebody take a picture?